Thanks very much to TCR Car Sales. We bid them adieu for this round of the Shannons Nationals, and we welcome front and centre the CAMS Pace Australian Formula 4 Championship, the final race for the 2019 seasons. Darren Smith and Rob James right next to me. Rob, not too far away from a race start.
It's so exciting when we approach the final race because there's so much anticipation. It's a 6-point gap heading into this final round of the season as the revs rise. Just holding say we are off, and Lewis Leeds gets massive wheel spin. Ryan Sewell gets the perfect start off the front row of the grid for this sixth race of the week, and they all duck to the outside, just trying to position themselves into turn one. Very messy, lots of gravel out there, out on track after the TCR race this afternoon.
Lewis Leeds covers off that charge by Ryan Sewell very nicely indeed. Really has been the outstanding performer on race starts this weekend, as we have a big understeer there for Lockie Hughes. It just got through on Ryan Sewell for about 3 or 4 metres, understeered off, and have a look at this, who's coming through now. It's the number 16 of Tommy Smith. He started off the last row and he's already made his way up into 4th position.
Yeah, reversal of fortune for young Tommy Smith. Started on the front row and dropped to last very quickly, did young Tommy Smith for Team BRM. But at the moment, it's Lewis Leeds, Ryan Sewell, Lockie Hughes, your top three at the moment. That's super important because we're still to decide second and third in the championship for 2019. Lewis Leeds, our 5th ever champion in the championship. He's locked that away yesterday. So he's just racing out there for fun. He's enjoying the final 8 or so laps of this Formula 4 race.
Just hearing those cold brake squeals there as well. So obviously a couple of cars not getting their brakes right up to operating temperature. They give off that squeal when they're not quite at optimum operating range, getting picked up by our ambient microphones around the track here. As a big lunge around the outside there. It's going to be Lockie Hughes looking at the number 5 of Ryan Sewell, and albeit off in the distance is our champion for 2019. Lewis Leeds is driving away out in front. He's got himself already out of 1.5 second lead in this race. A big lunge to the inside. This time seems to be the best passing spot on this track on the way into that corner there, turn 13 here at the Bend Motorsport Park.
Tommy Smith having a sniff of that corner as well. It's going to be a freight train led by Ryan Sewell. Lewis Leeds out on his own at the moment, side by side go Antonio Studi and Tommy Smith. That's changed quickly. That's for position 4 out on track at the moment. They're still going side by side. It's hammer and tong between the two teammates as we approach lap 2 of this motor race. They're side by side again. We've seen so many passing attempts at that corner so far this weekend. It hasn't worked out once, but thankfully it's actually been relatively clean across 6 races here, as we see Jackson Moore's also looking to climb up and make that pass on Tommy Smith, who just drops down a couple of spots from where he started, but this battle ain't over yet for them.
Antonio Studi started out of position 3, went backwards. He's now fighting his way back. He's into position 5 now. Have we got a change here at the hairpin? Great passing spot there, but no. Yes, it is. Lockie Hughes goes through.
Lewis Leeds setting purple sectors at the moment. It's no surprise. He's got fresh air to contend with. He's just going to sit back and relax and enjoy these final laps. But the pressure is on for Ryan Sewell and Lockie Hughes. P2, the championship they are fighting for. This race will decide who takes out that on. At the moment for the round, though, Lewis Leeds looks to return to the top step with 340 points to his name after 6 rounds. If positions stay as they are, Lockie Hughes 248 versus Sewell's 242.
Coming on to turn 14 now. Line astern with each other. The number 5 and the 15. These are the ones fighting it out for the second spot in the championship. As it stands at the moment, it stands as it was at the start of this race. It'll be Leeds to Hughes and Sewell.
It's 18 points versus 15 for second and third place for this motor race. They're the final points left in this year's championship. We're the first championship to wrap up for the season 2019. It's just flown by the 2019 season.
Great place to finish up here at the Bend Motorsport Park. Halfway through the year, calendar-wise, good opportunity for these races to finish off their studies for the year. Most of them still at school and set themselves up a program for 2020. A big dive down the inside, a lock-up on Ryan Sewell. Lockie Hughes understeers but manages to defend. He's got nothing but attention for his mirrors at the moment, because here comes Antonio Estudi. Will he come through
touch
and
and
goes
he's out? A spin for Ryan Sewell. He will be apoplectic with Antonio Estudi. He gets the car restarted. flicks it back. It's lap 3 of 9 of this race. It's going to be a hard old effort to climb back to P2 at the moment.
Well, he's going to be throwing everything at it, just like Rob James with his vocabulary here today. Absolutely digging deep.
So Lewis leads and Lockie Hughes are going to be top 2 at the moment. Ryan still dropping down to P6 at the moment. We saw him yesterday having a bit of a charge when he dropped off, when he had a little bit of a tangle with his teammate. As we see the replay now, as Stutey and Ryan still, no doubt that we'll get a look at in race control. Might be the final race.
Gee, I'm not sure that Antonio Stutey's escaped without any damage there. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a rod end or something that got injured in that coming together. He's continued on, so it would have presented by now if it had been a problem. But certainly, bashing these open wheelers together, they do tend to get damage very, very quickly. We saw it earlier on today.
The track's really different this afternoon in this final Formula 4 race this weekend. We've had a bit of action across the different categories here at the Shannons Nationals this weekend. A little bit of dirt and gravel being thrown up on the track, so perhaps a little bit dirtier than we possibly expected after our second race this morning in F4, perhaps catching out some of these drivers.
Around turn 13 they go.
It's very windy out there too, so a bit of aerodynamic disturbance for these cars. I mean, you know, it's not Formula 1 cars where they're complaining too much about aero wash, but every bit of turbulence kind of matters in these wings and slick cars.
It certainly does. Everything affects these cars. Their crosswinds, all sorts of things will be affected. We've got Antonio Stutey just trying to shake the Toki entrant number 11 of Jackson Walls out of his slipstream, and he's also trying to get Tommy Smith in the number 16 out of his slipstream. So they're all just moving slightly on track. Jackson Walls, big speedway style, high and wide around turn 5, sets himself up with a big drift.
And Tommy Smith is being threatened by our 2019 Burson Auto Parts Rookie of the Year elect in Emerson Harvey as well. It was a very quick sequence in terms of, turn 1, he was all over the back of Jackson Walls, and now he's trying to fight for his position off Emerson Harvey.
Hasn't exactly been Emerson's weekend here this weekend. He's certainly had better rounds throughout this year as opposed to Ben Motorsport Park this weekend, which is a bit of a shame being it was a double round. He's representing himself nicely, and of course his sponsors on board there, Shannons.
He's grown a lot over this past season. Hard to believe his very first motor race in a circuit car, of course, very credentialed in karting, is Emerson Harvey, but the Australian Grand Prix was his first motor race, so that's certainly a memorable
It's
debut.
only March.
I know, only a very memorable experience for Emerson Harvey. And of course, this was the track at the Bend where he tested an F4 car for the very first time. So a bit of sentimental value here at the Bend for young Emerson. See the gaps just growing a little bit now. That train has just settled a bit. Lap 4 of 9 of the Cams Pace Australian Formula 4 Championship, the 6th race. These boys will sleep well tonight. They've had a very long weekend.
Tell you what, the number 23 driver, Lewis Leeds, is giving them an absolute, don't argue, a big slap down here. In 3 laps, he's managed to ease out 5.2 second lead on the field, and he is absolutely eclipsing them here.
You're seeing a driver at the peak of his powers pretty much. He's just enjoying this motor car, because the hill up to Formula 1 where he aspires to be, wishes to be in the FIA Formula 3 Championship over in Europe this time next year. It's a very rare sort of treat just to get to enjoy motor racing, but we're seeing a pass by Tommy Smith on Jackson Walls. Great pass by the Team BRM pilot into turn 1.
Jackson threshold braking there, that was a very skillful manoeuvre.
Jackson Walls just hoping to get the switchback onto Tommy Smith, but not to be. Emerson Harvey having a sniff as well of that position off Jackson Walls.
Very hard to do, just spot the difference between a big lock-up and slide into the corner and a big, deep braking manoeuvre. The threshold of braking is a very, very precious skill to have as a race car driver.
It's been a heck of a 24 hours for young Jackson Walls too. Race winner in race 3 yesterday. Carnage this morning. Didn't make the start for race 2 today. And he's just battling at the moment to hang on to that Patrizia Corsa entry with Emerson Harvey wanting to take that P6 position. 5.5 seconds is that gap now between Lewis Leeds and Lockie Hughes. Hughes right in the box seat to claim second in this year's championship.
Certainly when Ryan Sewell went around, that really did sign off on a second place in the championship unless something particularly untoward happens. They came into this race Leeds with the championship. On second place coming in was on 248 points was Hughes, and Sewell on two coming into this race. At the moment now, it's Hughes with 58 points and Ryan Sewell with 39 in this round 6, the final race of the Cams Pace Australian Formula 4 Championship on track now.
It was only a 3-point gap into this round alone on points. Lewis leads 43 to his name after race 2 this morning, with Lockie Hughes on 40 points. So very much the race winner will determine our round winner and enjoy the final podium of 2019 for these Formula 4 youngsters. Just holding steady at the moment.
It's just nice to watch it. Good open wheeler driver going about his business, and that's what we've got now. Car number 23, full of confidence, relaxed. A relaxed and full of confidence driver is a dangerous thing. We're starting to see lap records start to go now.
Lewis leads his race for some of the best open wheel teams in Europe, would you believe? He's a very young man at age 19, has had a crack at Europe, has raced for the Arden British Formula 4 team, very well credentialed in the world of open wheeler racing, but Lewis leads is adamant this AGI sport car is the best Formula 4 car, the best race car he has ever driven, and it's showing. He's showing a masterclass aboard this car. A little bit of pub trivia for this car too. It is a 3-time championship winning car. Of course, it won at the hands of Nick Rowe in 2017, Jaden Ojeda in 2018, and again with Lewis leads the champion this year.
So we go down to the pit lane on lap 6 of the Formula 4 race to Greg Rust.
Guy really made the Honda Civic dance, but it seemed, Jordan Cox, as though it was a bit more measured approach to the final one of the weekend. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, absolutely. We basically reset today. But we come out guns blazing on Friday and yesterday, and then we sort of reassessed where we were at, and then a lot more measured today. Didn't quite get the car where we liked it. It was either understeer or oversteer, so we're trying to find that sweet spot. So we'll go through the data and dissect it all, mate.
Okay, the key question now is, will we see you back for Queensland and for more rounds of the championship? We'd certainly like to.
I hope so. We're going to work really hard to do it. Yeah. So we want to commit to the series. We love it. As a driver, I feel as though I can test myself against some real quality drivers out here. So I want to work towards getting out the ring.
Stuff. Well done.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.
One of the hard luck stories of race 3, Tony D'Alberto. Tony turned around early in that race, but you showed some wonderful pace throughout.
Yeah, I was spewing. We got a ripper start, and I passed a couple of guys down to turn 1, and I thought I left enough room, and I think someone just had a bit of a wiggle and clipped my rear and spun me around, and then I just jumped on the gas and spun it back around and created smoke everywhere, so it was a bit of a show. But then, we set the fast lap in the race and come back through the field to 7th, so not all bad. Absolutely stoked, though, for Johnny Martin to get the win. I wish it was me, but fantastic for the team. We put so much work in. The guys are working really good together, and just to get that first win for Honda is excellent.
Take us through the incident as well. A penalty was applied to Dylan O'Keefe for it. What happened?
Well, I think he, potentially just, had a little whoops into turn 1 there, and the rear come around and he stepped sideways and just clipped my car. I don't think there was anything intentional, but it was nice for someone else to get a penalty rather than me for once.
So you feel you've probably had a few too many penalties this year so far?
I've had a couple where, you sort of look at it and think, I could go either way, but that one definitely, I thought I wasn't in the wrong.
I believe a radio call referred to that. Could you take us through your radio call?
Look, I'm Italian, so I get emotional very easily, and it's been a really trying weekend. We've had great pace, on the one lap flyers and qualifying right at the front, and just all weekend we've had the car to do it, but just haven't shown it in the races. So a bit of frustration coming out on the radio.
And that was, Tony?
I can't say.
All right. We'll let you go. But, mate, we'll look forward to seeing you at Queensland Raceway.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
It's a battle-scarred Renault Megane, but man, it was a fast one. Shame for you, Chris Pither, that it kind of ended in that way. What happened as far as the crash is concerned?
Yeah, good question. Just went down into turn 1, same as I had every lap, and I hadn't made any adjustment to the brake bias, the brake balance in the car at all. I just grabbed the rears for some reason. So don't know if it was operator error or there was something else going on there. A little bit strange in the way it locked so aggressively, and I had no modulation to get it to recover. So once it had gone sideways as a passenger, very disappointing, obviously, because for me that was probably the first time all year that I've actually felt like I was in the race, and that's exciting. The disappointing thing is that there's obviously a bit of damage here, but the guys will be working hard to get it straightened out for the next round, and we can take confidence out of this. It's as I said, we had some pace there, and that's exciting.
So given the positives that you're talking about, let's focus on that, and with Moth getting on the podium and so on, do you feel like that'll translate to Queensland Raceway next time out, and do you feel like you're in with a good shot there?
I do, at the end of the day, new cars started this year, new cars internationally, the Renault Megane RS, so we're very much involved in the car at every event, and the fact that the guys have put so much effort in between Phillip Island now, we've taken what we learned at Phillip Island, been able to apply it here and see results, awesome and very much appreciated from my side, and we'll do the same going to QR. It's a very different track, QR, it requires a different type of balance and type of car. But, I think there's definitely things that we've learned here that we can apply there. And at the end of the day, we're in the hunt, so I'm looking forward to it.
Good on you. See you there.
Cheers. Thanks.
So, Jackson Walls, we come back to live pictures and the Cams Pace Australian Formula 4 Championship, and Jackson Walls has plummeted down to 6th place and going slowly around the back end of the Bend Motorsport Park. But it's Lewis leads now with an 8.2 second lead over Lockie Hughes, Antonio Astudi, Tommy Smith, Emerson Harvey and Ryan Sewell.
Ryan Sewell recovering back to P6 with that off from Jackson Walls. Massive gap. This is probably the steadiest race we've seen all weekend here at the Bend Motorsport Park. We had frantic wet conditions yesterday. Absolutely manic racing, of course. We had a fight for the championship, but this is the final lap that they get to have peace with their Formula 4 cars. Ryan Sewell, 3 years aboard that car across 3 different teams. He's just enjoying, he's soaking up the final laps around the Bend Motorsport Park here this weekend. Tommy Smith as well, P4 at the moment. He's had a bit of a mixed weekend in his return from Asian F3 Series. Certainly wish him luck in that series too, as he chases his own international dreams for the young Victorian.
Coming around on our final lap for the Cams Pace Australian Formula 4 Championship Racing for 2019. Can't wait to see what this championship brings us in 2020. Let's hope for some good, strong growth for the Cams Pace Australian Formula 4 Championship. But Lewis Leeds will go into the history books as the winner of this title, the 5th title for the Formula 4 Championship here in Australia. We're currently staying with the 2nd place car on the road, which is Lockie Hughes. In the background there, the number 39 of Antonio Astudi, as they run down the laps in this year's title.
Great effort by AGI Sport to put together that car again. It looks a little bit rough around the edges, but Lewis Leeds takes the final checkered flag of the 2019 Cams Pace Australian Formula 4 Championship. Lockie Hughes will cross from P2 and Antonio Astudi, a valiant recovery in P3.
And let the celebrations begin for the 23 Red Racer as he winds it down. His final lap for the 29 season in Formula 4 as they all start to come to the line. It's Lewis Leeds that gets an emphatic victory at the end of the championship. He takes the title and he takes the win by 9.24 seconds over Lockie Hughes. That will give Lockie Hughes 2nd place in the championship hunt. And then it was Antonio Astudi, Tommy Smith, Emerson Harvey, Ryan Sewell rounding out his 3rd year in the Cams Pace Australian Formula 4 Championship, and Jackson Walls unfortunately DNF'd in the end. But what a fantastic weekend. 2 rounds, rounds 5 yesterday and round 6 for the title hunt. Lewis Leeds will ride off into the sunset and let the celebrations begin down there at AGI Sport and 23 Red Racing, because Lewis Leeds has done it, and he's done it from the front all throughout the 2019 season. What a great end to Formula 4s for the 2019 season. As I said, let's see what 2020 brings us as we count down the minutes now to our next race of today. 3 o'clock, the sports sedans will be on track. We'll be back after this break live at the Bend Motorsport Park.